And today we're going to introduce ourselves to our topic C, which deals with the current assets and the non-current assets. But I've developed some summary of notes for you on the bank reconciliation statements with a bit of a question, as well as your trade and other receivables control account. So number one, we'll be looking at the nature of cash and cash equivalents. As we know that the cash and cash equivalents represents your bank, right? Which includes your savings or any investment that can be converted into cash in a shorter period of time. Usually it's actually less than 5 months. Sorry, 12 months. My apologies for that. Let's have a look at the internal controls over cash. There we're looking at mostly, or the most important component of it is the segregation of duties. So this is how it works, because sensitive finance is quite a sensitive subject on its own. So we normally find ourselves in corporate not doing everything, or not one person or single person performing everything concerning finance, which is why when you go to bigger corporates, because they deal with bigger transactions, so they would make sure that they keep quite strict with regards to their segregation of duties. So what I'm trying to say is you cannot be a bank reconciliation consultant at the same time you do your cash receipts analysis books. You understand? Because of the valuable in terms of the cash and the signatures, obviously there has to be passing in terms of your duties. Right. So basically, what I know in finance, normally what happens is, especially when it comes to the movement of cash, you may find out somebody in, let's say, for example, financing student debtors, you cannot sign up for the finance in relation to that section. It has to go to a different section. It can be bank recon, it can be project administration, it can be trade and other payables, but somebody else somewhere else to actually can perform this kind of a segregation of duties must be able to sign independently of that section. Okay, let's look at the bank reconciliation statement balance with the bank account balance. There's so many items that reflect on your bank statement, which it includes your opening balance, the deposited credits, check or direct payments, or the refer to drawer checks. We'll correct the errors. We've got the bank charges, we've got the interest charges, and then we've got the dividend stop orders. I'm sure all of you are actually familiar with this. If you look at your own bank statement, you would see, despite for the company that you'll be working for, if you look at your own individual bank statement, you're going to see these kind of the list of items that I've just read to you now, which include your opening, your deposit, your checks, your corrections, if there are bank charges, interest charges, stop orders, and debit orders, if you do have those ones. Okay. All right. I've got a question here. It says, why is it necessary to perform the bank reconciliation? Okay. The main issue is to ensure correspondence of figures in the bank statement as well as your bank account. Okay. So should there be no correspondence with regards to these figures, it means that the reconciliation must be performed, right? And for any outstanding credit in the bank statement must be created into the bank reconciliation statement, or the other way around. Considerations include your favorable bank account balance, which is recorded on the debit side of the bank account and the bank reconciliation statement, and the rest will be the unfavorable. What? Bank account balance to be recorded in the credit side in both the bank account and bank reconciliation statements, right? The other second consideration would be your favorable bank statement balance is recorded on the credit side of the bank statement and the bank reconciliation statement, and then favorable would be recorded vice versa, right? Meaning the other way. It's important to understand this kind of considerations because you need to know which amount goes where, especially just to limit this kind of a confusion in between your bank account and the bank statement. So you need to be aware of what you are basically dealing with. Okay, especially in terms of this terminology or the concept called the favorable and the unfavorable. So that's one of the things that you must be well aware of. But I know with bank reconciliation, students don't start on a lot because it's something that we grew up with. Let's look at the procedures to be followed in the reconciliation process. You complete your bank reconciliation statement that must be compared with the current bank reconciliation statement to complete the outstanding items and the correction by the bank. Basically, I was supposed to say complete the previous bank reconciliation to be compared with the current bank reconciliation statement to be completed with the outstanding items and the correction by the bank. My apologies for that one, but I will change it. Right. Please make sure that your cash receipts journal, I've noted CRJ there, amounts are always on the credit side of the bank statement. So in most cases, if you are not given some sort of an additional income, you are going to give in the bank statement, which it will include your debit, your credit, and your balance columns. Right. So the figures that are on your credit side, they match or they should go under your cash receipts journal. And the figures that are on your debit side, it means that they have to go to your CPJ, that is your cash payment journal. Okay, any questions before I go further? All right, corrections to be reconciled in the cash journals include your bank charges, the interest, the debit and stop orders, and the errors, as well as your stale check. I've got a question. Who understands what the stale check is? Quickly.
Is it a check that hasn't been paid and
Yes.
overdue?
Overdue. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a check that hasn't been paid, overdue, and going towards losses.
Okay. No, you're not quite exactly on the right track. It's a check that is actually overdue, but it hasn't been paid for more than 6 months. Okay. So you need to be specific on that one. Because if you see a transaction says that it's a check that has been overdue, for example, they're not being specific. So you're not sure whether it's overdue for how long, but it should be at least 6 months. Right? So with the reverse of that one, because in actual fact, we haven't paid that, so it has to be reversed back to the payer. So you're going to record that under your cash receipts journal. Any stale check that you see on any transactions, ensure that you report that under, or you record that under your cash receipts journal. What kind of errors do you think they may occur? What do you think of any errors that you think it might or they may occur? How about when the company or the bank is trying to pay the service provider, let's say 220, but they miss it out and say 202? Those are the kind of errors that has to be rectified. Do you get what I'm saying? Or how about the payment that you're making and you probably don't use the reference number for making the payment? So that's one of the errors that might occur as well. Or instead of paying Pooty, you ended up paying Mercado by mistake. Those are the possible kind of errors. You guys have corrections that must be done in the bank reconciliation statements, your standing credit deposit, your unpaid check, as well as the errors. The errors include what I've just mentioned now, okay? So unpaid checks, normally it will tell you check number so and so and so and so and so is still due for payment. So those are your unpaid check. All right. Obviously, they're going to be dealt with the comparison when you look at your bank statement on the debit side. Okay. Well, I've got a question for you, and I would love us to actually work together. Let me show you the question quickly before we move to one of the previous exam papers. It is in question number 1, cash journals, bank account, and bank reconciliation statement. It's question number 1. It says that it's 24 marks under 29 minutes. I hope you can all see that. Right, as I've mentioned, that I picked up from one of your previous exam papers, which is FAC1503. All right, it says that on comparing Bernard Attorney's business bank account bank statement with the business cash journals for April 2018 and the bank reconciliation for the month ended 31st March 2018, the followings were noted. Number 1, it says that the totals of the bank column, sorry, I'm going to ask everybody to be unmuted, please. The totals of the bank columns in the business cash journals on the 30th of April were as follows. Business cash receipts with an amount of 13,204, the business cash payments with an amount of 12,050. Number 2 says that entries Okay, then I'm going to do this. I'm going to type out the solution that we have now, and then we'll compare it with the solutions that it's available for us. Okay. All right. Let's look at, usually when you approach with a question like this one, you have to look at your required part first. That's my recommendation. So the required part says that you need to complete the following in the accounting records of Barnett attorneys as at the 30th of April 2018. Number A, we want the business cash receipts journal and the business cash bank journal with the bank column only. Property totaled as at the 30th of April 2018. The bank account in the general ledger properly balanced as at 30th of April 2018. The bank reconciliation statement properly balanced on the 30th of April. So it's 12 months, 5 and 7. But please note that this question must be answered on page 4 and 5 of this examination. So it looks like these guys that were given some sort of a framework towards their solutions where they can write on. Okay, let me go back on top of the questions. We know what we want. We know what is required, basically. Right? The number one, it says the totals of the bank columns in the business cash journals on the 30th of April 2018 were as follows. Business cash receipts journal, 13204, and business cash payments on 12050. What do you do with this? I'm just going to open up my blank word and then I will type it on the other side. And I'll show you the solution as soon as we are done. What is your approach to the first question, or the first transaction rather?
I think the balances would go to our general ledger.
The general ledger accounts, the opening balances.
Yes, as our balance brought down.
Cash flow. Let me say is that we are just quickly type out my. Okay, Pumi, you said what must I do with those balances?
I said I think they go to your general ledger account.
Under the bank account, or which ledger account specifically?
We're doing the bank accounts only, right? Said.
Yeah, the ledger account would only be the bank account, but the other ones will be your cash payment, cash receipts journal, and the bank reconciliation statements.
Yes, so we're doing the bank accounts and we're bringing those as our balance brought down.
Number one, you said the totals will go to the bank account, right?
Yes.
Okay. Pumi, do you want to tell me why do you want to take it to the bank account? Pumi says that the totals under the bank columns on the what is it? Cash receipts and cash payments will just go to as an opening balance under the bank account. CRJ and CPJ, and you said bank account. Okay, and how do I record that, Pumi? Is it, you said it's going to be the opening balance?
Yes.
Right. So
your CRJ balance would go on the debit side.
Okay. So I would have my CRJ and my CPJ
on the credit side.
On the credit side. Okay, it's 12 and 13. Pumi, what you're saying is quite correct, but it's not actually 100% quite correct, because the figures that you see on transaction number one, they're not complete, basically. They gave you this information being incomplete, but they just want you to complete it based on the information that is below. Am I making sense? At the end of the day, yes, your totals under your CRJ and CPJ will be transferred through to your bank account. But at this stage, they are not complete. So they want you to actually complete them. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to transaction number 2 and see if we can try and see something. Entries appearing in the bank record. Basically, what you're going to do, you're going to say opening balance under your CRJ and opening balance under your CPJ with an amount of 12,050, and then your CRJ will be 3204. Make sense? Entries appearing in the bank reconciliation statement of the previous month, which is March 2018, but not in the bank statement for the April 2020. 2018. Right, we've got check number 221 dated there, 10th of October 2018 to J. Jenkins, a business creditor with an amount of 370. And then we've got an EFT number 47 on the 30th of March 2018 to Mobinet for the telephone account of 790. And then we've got check number 533 dated the 22nd of March 2018 to the municipalities for water and electricity. And then we've got check number 221 to J. Jenkins. It's stale and must be cancelled. You remember the stale check that we spoke about? Do you guys remember that?
Yes, the one you said if it's not paid within 6 months.
Yes, they're now telling us about it. They say that the stale check, which is check number 222, right? It's what we paid. I think we paid that check to J. Jenkins, something like that. Okay, so it's now been identified as your stale check. Right. Tell me, what do we do with transaction number 2? What do you think we do? Where are the other students? Tiny and Elizabeth.
I think we're going to credit bank and debit all those accounts.
Sorry, is it Pumi again?
It's Tiny.
Okay, Tiny, you said you think we're going to do what?
We're going to credit bank with those accounts and then debit all those accounts individually.
Okay, I just want to write what you are advising me to, to basically do. Let me see there, just a moment. Just want to open up that page. All right, looking at number 2, where it says the entries appearing in the bank reconciliation statement of the previous month, which is March 2018, but not in the bank statement for April 2018. Check number 221 dated the 10th of October 2017 to J. Jenkins. It's a business creator with an amount of 370. And then we've got an EFT number 47 on the 30th of March 2018 to Mobinet for the telephone account with an amount of 790. And then we've got a check number 533 dated the 22nd of May 2018 to the municipalities for water and electricity with an amount of 1,180. So there's a note below there where it says that check number 2212 J. Jenkins is a stale and it must be cancelled. Remember, we have agreed that the stale check is a check that is older than 6 months, and then it has to be returned back to the payer. So it has to be recorded under your cash receipts journal. Does it make sense? Meaning that you're going to record your stale check number 221 dated the 10th of October 2017 to J. Jenkins as a business creator with an amount of 370 rands. Okay, everybody happy?
Puchi, sorry, can I ask a question?
Sure, you may, please.
This check, isn't Bernard Attorneys paying the check to J. Jenkins?
Sorry?
Isn't Bernard Attorneys, are
Yes.
they not the ones who are paying the check to J. Jenkins?
That's correct.
Okay, so if they're paying it, why are we putting it under our cash receipts journals? Because it's a payment?
That's a very good question. And then we're going to go back to what's called the stale check. Remember, the stale check is a check that has been paid, but it's not cleared for a period of 6 months, meaning that it has to be returned back to the payer, which is Bernard Attorneys. In other words, when it's cancelled and returned back to the payer, it means that they are receiving it back. That's why they are recording it under the CRJ.
Okay.
It's not paid as yet, basically. Or
And what would
not
be
paid
the
as yet. Not paid as yet wouldn't make sense, but I would say, because if it's not paid as yet, it will go through to the bank reconciliation. I can say it has been cancelled.
and what would be the reasons of the cancelled checks?
The reason is because of it's a stale. It's over 6 months. It's no longer valid.
No, I get that. I'm just saying that if you pay a company and it stays, it becomes stale for over 6 months, what are the possible causes for that?
The problem is they might have not probably have not seen it, or maybe I can't really say that there wasn't no money in there. The major reason would be it's not cleared.
Okay, thanks.
Can I also ask?
Sure, you may, please.
Follow up. Is it Put or Kumi's question? They're saying entries appearing in the bank reconciliation statement, but not in the bank statement.
All right.
So they're not. I'm not seeing anything referring to a stale check there.
Shall we go back to the question?
My question is, they are saying this the three accounts, they're not reflecting on the bank statement,
Yes.
but on the bank reconciliation. And regarding the stale check, that check 221, I'm not seeing anything reflecting there to say that check is stale. What I understand that line is that check is reflecting on the bank recon, but not on the bank statement.
All right.
That is my understanding.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, sorry, your name is?
Tiny.
Okay, Tiny, we are all on the same page of number 2, right?
Yes.
So the first dot says that check number 221 dated the 10th of October 2017 to JJ Kings, a business creditor with an amount of 370. That's where you are having a misunderstanding, right? Under, if you can look at under your third dot, it says check number 2212 JJ King. It's a stale and it must be cancelled. I don't know if you can see that note.
Okay, I see that.
Are you fine now?
Yes.
All right. Shall we carry on?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. Any other question? Pumi, are you sorted? Are you answered?
Yes, I'm answered.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. What do we do with the EFT number 47 on the 30th of March 2018 to Mobinet for their telephone account? What do we do with that?
Hi, Puti.
Hi.
So I think with the EFTT, which is bullet number 2, right? The second one, the 30th of March. I think it goes to your CPJ because it's your telephone expense, according to my own understanding.
It's because it's the telephone expense.
Yes.
Okay. Any other suggestion?
I think I would agree with Elizabeth. We put it under its payments to Mobinet. So we would say direct payment to Mobinet of 7.
Direct payment to Mobinet.
Yes.
All right. So these entries, they are appearing in the bank reconciliation statement of the previous month. Remember, we talked about the bank reconciliation statement from the previous month should be compared with the bank reconciliations in the current month. Okay, but they are not in or on the bank statement for the April 2013. So if the transaction is actually not in the bank statement, remember most of the transactions that reflect in your bank statement, they would go under your CRJ and your CPJ. Okay, but these transactions or some of the transactions here that we're talking about, they don't appear under your bank statement, right? Meaning that somehow you lack that debit or credit column. I don't know if I do make sense on that one. So in other words, you can't take these transactions under your CRJ or your CPJ because it does not appear under your bank statement for the current month, meaning that it should be a reconciliation item. I don't know if I'm making sense. I think we just have to focus on this question today so that we can just be clear on that. Right, check number 533 dated the 22nd of May 2018 to the municipalities for water and electricity. What is your take on this?
Wouldn't what you just explained then apply to this one as well?
I beg your pardon?
I'm saying, wouldn't what you've just explained now apply to this one?
Exactly. It's one of the checks that are actually not presented for the payment. It's exactly the same as the EFT that is actually not presented for payment. Okay. Do you guys have a textbook for this course? I know the textbook is not allowed, but I think you need the textbook for this bank reconciliation statement. Do you have a textbook for it?
No, we don't have a textbook. It's just a study guide.
Or you don't even have a soft copy for it?
No.
Let me give you what is it? The best way to can deal with a bank is either you get the textbook for this part specifically. Somebody can help you. You can get a soft copy. I'm not sure on how you're going to get it. Or if you get the study guide for FAC 1543, if you know anybody who's doing FAC 1543, page up on their bank reconciliation. It explains each and everything step by step. Okay. And the other thing is, I know that the bank reconciliation, if they're given you as part of an additional information, it confuses a lot of students. It's more easier when the students are given the bank statement because they just know by taking credit, CRJ, debit, CPJ, and you look at the balances. But when it appears like this, it becomes a bit of a problem for most of the students. Okay. Can I be allowed to move on?
You said we
Yes.
should find, the study guide for what, FAC?
If you get the study guide for FAC 1543,
Okay.
you should be clear on that one. It's explained more. I've seen it. It's explained more in detail. And or if you don't mind, send me an email. I'll send you that part with regards to the bank reconciliation on the FAC 1543, because I also tutor that. Make sense?
Okay.
Or if you know anybody who's doing FAC 1543, you can just let that person. But I'm also an e-tutor on that part, so I don't think it will be a problem if I send you that one part of the bank reconciliation. You will see it will be easier for you. Okay, let's have a look at transaction number 3. Entries appearing in the business cash journals but not in the bank statement. Check number 612 dated the 27th of April 2018 to Catco for the office printer with an amount of 411. And then we've got a deposit of 1386 dated on the 30th of April 2018 from CRAD, the client in respect of the preparations contract regarding the registration of the company. All right, let's unpack some of the things in here. Tell me, the problem now as we're analyzing these questions together, what do you think the problem is? Is it the language, or is it how they word things, or is it because of maybe you are not, you haven't studied the bank reconciliation as yet? What do you think your problem is when we tackle this kind of questions?
I'll speak for myself. I think the study guide doesn't have much information that would help understand. I mean, I'm looking at some of the examples that are there in the study guide for bank reconciliation compared to the question we're doing.
Okay. But with the part that we did previously, are you comfortable enough in that? Because this is where I can pick up that there's something wrong that you guys are missing out. But before, your participation was way too good as compared to the bank reconciliation part.
I think the others unclear. You're meaning the other A and B that we've covered in the other sessions?
Yes.
Yes, those are clear.
So well, you guys are having a problem with the reason I'm asking you is because of when you're faced up with the multiple choice question, it might look a little bit tougher than when you are writing. So what I'm trying to say is it might be a bit of a problem to get an exact answer when we're dealing with the bank reconciliation multiple choice question. And it's something that you must be prepared for because you'll be faced up with that in the exam. All right, try to get anybody who send me an email and then I'll send you that portion of the bank reconciliation statement from my material. And then if you've got anybody that you know that is doing the FAC 1503, make sure that you just ensure that you get that part and read it. And then if it's not sufficient enough, unfortunately, you have to get a soft copy for your financial accounting. Okay, so this is where the strange part is, because for the previous years that I've tutored FAC, my students have never struggled with the bank. Actually, they were always looking forward to look for the bank reconciliation. So, but I can see that with you, it's actually the vice versa. They would struggle with the topic A and B, and when they get to topic C, they would have a bit of a problem. So when they get to topic C, bank reconciliation, everybody's killing it. All right, but I think it's upon you to decide as to which part are you gonna, or how you're gonna find the way out on that. But that's the little piece of advice that I can actually give out to you. Okay, entries appear in the business cash, but not in the bank statement. So they appear in the cash journals, but not in the bank statement. All right. So one thing I know, and the reason why I'm referring you to the FAC1503, I know it unpacks transactions like entries appearing in the bank statement, but not in the cash journals, or entries appearing in the cash journals, but not in the bank statement, or entries appearing in the bank reconciliation, but not somewhere else. So if you understand that, then you'll be able to know as to, okay, why should I record this? Why is it not there? Then it's supposed to be there. Do you get what I'm saying? Because if you don't have the principles of understanding what entries appearing somewhere, where should they be recorded, you're going to have a problem. Everything will just look magic to you. So check number 612 dated the 27th of April 2018 to Jadco Suppliers for office printers. Where do you think this goes? Where do you think this goes?
Isn't this one? It's also it's not. Sorry, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Oh, okay, thanks. I think it goes to your CPJ, because it seems like it's a payment that is being made to the suppliers for the printers, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, but let's look at what the heading says. Entries appearing in the business cash journals, but not in the bank statement.
Okay.
Do you get the heading quite correct?
Okay, yeah, I get it that they appear in the business cash journals, but not on the bank statement.
But not on the bank statement. So what if I call it a recon transaction and I say that is a check number, then outstanding checks that are not yet presented for payment? Because we've got it. Remember, we've got it under. Sorry.
I was just asking you to repeat yourself again. I couldn't hear you properly.
What I'm saying is we've got that or those kind of transactions recorded already under our cash journals, but they're not in the bank statement. So what I'm trying to say is by principles, when you record that under your CRJ or your CPJ, it means that you are double recording the same transaction. Because the heading tells us they are already appearing under your cash journals, but they're not appearing under your bank the bank statement.
Okay, I understand now.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm saying, that if you send me, I'll send you the notes with regards to if transaction appears in the certain types of journals or in certain types of the bank reconciliation statement or the bank statement, then you know where it fits in terms of the recording. It will help you a lot. Make sense? Okay. Pumi, I think you wanted to say something?
No, it's fine. You've just explained what I wanted to say. I wanted to say that it looks like question 2, where it hasn't been presented for payment, so it would go to the recon.
But does it make sense now?
Yes. So,
Elizabeth, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still with you.
All right. Let's have a look at the deposit of 1386 dated on the 30th of April 2018 from C. Wright, applying in respect of the preparations of the contract regarding the registrations of the company. Again, these has been recorded on our cash journals. We're not required to do the bank statement. We've got the bank statement already, but we are doing an extension of the bank statement, which is what we call the bank reconciliation statement. Okay, so you would also say that it will go through under our bank reconciliation statement as deposit not yet credited with an amount of 1386. Make sense? All right. Let's try to correspond what happens in between transaction number 3 and number 4. Let's look at the difference or the correlation in between those transactions. Number 4, it says that entries appearing in the bank statement. Look at how it works, right? Entries appearing in the bank statement, but not in the business cash journals. So automatically they're telling you that your business cash journals, it's actually missing some of the transactions. You need to record some of the business, some of the cash transactions in there. Looking at number 1, bank statement, you'll find that on the notes that we just read now. Bank charges with an amount of 190 rands. Anybody quickly, where do you think this goes?
To your CPJ. These are,
CPJ.
yeah, it charges, it's more like your expense, what you have to pay.
All right. Thank you, Pumi. Let's have the second one is the interest on favorable bank balance. Elizabeth, you're very quiet. Elizabeth.
Hi, Pumi.
Hi.
I think the interest on favorable bank balance goes to. I'm not sure yet. I'm just still thinking which one it goes to.
Or you're still trying to figure out, eh?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out.
Okay, and Pumi,
I think it's CRJ.
CRJ. Let's go to Tiny. You
Yeah.
agree with me?
Yes, I think it's CRJ.
Yeah, it is a
The
CRJ.
favorable is the yes, interest received.
That is very correct. Can you see that we're getting somewhere? All right, let's quickly have the third, what is it? Third bulletin. A debit order for a monthly service fee of 540 in favor of Safeguard Security. What do you think of this? Okay, it should be a CRJ or a CPJ, one of the two.
It's a CPJ.
It's a CPJ, right? There's a payment in favor of Safe Care Security from us. Okay, there's a direct deposit of 352 from C-Cross, the client, in respect of the fees for the services rendered.
So services rendered as, it's a CRJ.
It's a CRJ, right? So C-Cross is actually paying us.
Yeah.
So there's a debit order for the monthly office rent with an amount of 2.1 in favor of proper care letting. What's your take on this?
Puti, I think it's a CPJ.
It's a CPJ, right?
Yes.
Right. We've got an electronic fund transfer of 318 payable to Nokia as a business creator. Somebody quickly.
CPJ.
CPJ. We've got a check for 420 dated the 14th of April 2018 from ARCIS, a client, and then what is returned by the bank marked RD due to insufficient funds in the account. Quickly on this one.
I think this one goes to its payments because the client is supposed to be paying us, but there's insufficient funds on his account. So we're not getting the money. If we had gotten the money, it would be a CRJ.
Yes. I like your logic. So it's a CPJ according to you, or is it a BRS? Pumi?
Sorry, you're saying what? It's a CPJ or is it a what?
Is it a bank recon transaction or is it a CPJ?
The general account.
Sorry, Pumi, are you there?
Yeah. It's appearing on the bank statement, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's a CPJ. I think I'm changing my answer.
So you want to say it's a bank reconciliation?
Yes.
No.
Sorry, I didn't get you quite exactly there.
No, Tiny wants to come in. She says no, it's not a bank recon.
Okay. So no, you didn't complete your answer. That's why I'm actually. I'll get back to Tiny. It's okay.
Oh, where I said my answer initially. I had said we're not getting the money, right? If we were getting that 420, it would be a payment for us for Barnett attorneys. But this means yes. But then now the client has got insufficient funds.
Yes.
So this is an outstanding payment.
All right. Now your logic is quite correct, but I would like to know where would you land this transaction? Where would you put it?
I would put it in the CPJ.
In the CPJ.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Tiny, you wanted to come into the picture. Hi, Tiny.
I'm going to reserve my answer.
Okay, no problem. Elizabeth, do you want to take a shot?
Actually, I wanted to say it should be in one of the journals. Okay. Because it's reflecting in the bank statement already, but not in the journals. So it should be in one of the journals. Not
it should be in one of the journals. But which one would you prefer to put it on? Which one do you think it will go to?
I'm going to pass this one.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much.
Puti, I've changed my answer. I think it goes to the CRJ.
Are you serious? I'd like to hear why do you want to take it to CRJ?
I think it's still a payment to the company, right?
Okay.
As much as there's insufficient funds, we
Yes.
can still send it back to receive that payment. So it's not from the, from this client. So the client is still owing us money. So it's not like the company.
Pumi, if I owe you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If I owe you, and I give you an envelope, and then in the envelope you find papers folding in there, would you say that you have received the cash?
No, I haven't received the cash.
Okay.
But it also doesn't mean you don't owe me anymore. So I can still go after my money.
But do you understand that the mere fact that you haven't received the cash, it means that it's not a cash decision because you haven't received the money. And
Okay.
I like the way you were elaborating before on this one because your logic was exceptionally good. You understand? But I was surprised when you say you want to change you want to change your answer. That's why I was like, are you serious? You understand? Because the steps of you deciding on how this would factor under your CPJ, it was making sense. You understand? But when you wanted to reverse your decision, then I got to be sure that okay, let me give you a chance and hear what you understand. But okay, it will go through to the CPJ. It's an RD check. It means that the check, it's not a valid check. It doesn't have money. It doesn't appear to be a receipt. It will go through to the CPJ, meaning that we have to be paid that amount of money still. Happy?
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
Okay.
CPJ.
You were asking us to confuse us.
I beg your pardon?
You were just asking us to confuse us. I was right the first time.
Yes,
You
you
were
are right.
you were more than 100% right. That's why I was surprised.
Yes, it's CPJ SRD check. You are right.
I put it.
Ask easy. All right, let's look at check number 601 for 434 dated the 17th of April, issued to Bahari Services. The business creditor was returned by the bank due to an error on the check. The check will still be issued during May 2018. What do you think here? Check number 601 for 434 dated the 17th of April, issued to Bahari Services. The business creditor was returned by them due to an error on the check, and the check will be issued during May 2018.
Isn't this a bank recon? Because it's a bank error.
You tell me.
That's what I think. Because I mean, it doesn't say, it doesn't show. I'm assuming, based on this, it's showing on the journals and the bank statement is just an error that needs to be corrected from the bank. So then goes to just the bank recon.
Okay. Elizabeth, what's your take on this?
I think it's the bank. It goes to the bank reconciliation because it still needs to be attended.
Okay. Tiny, you've been quiet as well.
I think I agree. I'm not sure whether it was Pumi or Putu who was responding. I agree with her.
Okay. Check number 601 for 434 dated the 17th of April 2018, issued to Bahari. The business creditor was returned by the bank due to an error on the check. And the check will be issued during May 2018. Okay. This should be a cash receipt transaction. And I'll tell you why. We, as the attorneys, we are paying our creditor, meaning that we are the debtor to Bahari Services. You get what I'm saying? Initially, it was recognized as a payment, which is supposed to be a CPJ. You understand? But there was an error that made it to be returned back due to the error on the check. So they're returning it back to us, the attorneys. Does it make sense? So when they return the check back to us, because we're receiving that check with the money, it has to be recorded under our CRJ. Make sense? Hello?
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay. I can see that we are out of electricity now. So if you don't hear me, you must just know that is the issue of the network. Right, let's look at number 6. A deposit of 457 to another client of the bank was erroneously entered on the bank statement of Bernard Attorneys. What do you think of this one?
This is a bank error. It needs to be corrected by the bank.
It needs to be recorded by the bank. Is it Pumi?
Yes.
Okay. Tiny, can I hear you?
Yes, it is true. It's a bank error.
It's a bank error. And do you agree with them?
Yes, I agree with them.
And that's correct. Eh? It's a bank error, so it means that it's going to be under the bank reconciliation to be corrected. Thank you very much. Let's have another transaction. Let's see what the other one is saying. All right. There's a trust check number 442 for 1,280 dated the 21st of April, issued to Advocate Escue in respect to the third-party case of a client who was incorrectly recorded in the business cash payment journal, and the error must be corrected. Elizabeth, what is your take on this one?
I'm still thinking.
You're still thinking. Okay. Let's see, Tiny. What do you think? Is Tiny there? Tiny there? Okay, Pumi, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, that's good. I was scared that maybe the network cut us off. Do you have any suggestions? So it's transaction number 7. A trust check number 442 41280 dated the 21st of April, issued to Advocate Escue in respect of a third-party case of a client who was incorrectly recorded in the business case journal. The error must still be correct. Okay, let me see. I just want to give you a bit of a hint here. Do you think there's a difference between transaction 5 and 7?
It sounds the same
Sounds the same, right?
because it needs to be corrected.
Yes. Would you agree with me if I can say it's a CRG account?
Yeah, because I mean that amount was paid.
Yeah.
So it will be returned and then get corrected before it can be posted again as a payment.
Sure. All right. Tell me here. There's one thing that I need you guys to understand. Every time when you are, let me just go back quickly on top of the question. I just want to show you something. Question number 1 says, it says the company name is Barnett Attorneys, right? So this is how you need to understand the accounting on how it works. Every time when the head names says Puti Attorneys, Barnett Attorneys, you understand, Makaru Attorneys, Pumi Attorneys, Elizabeth Attorneys, on top, please always regard yourself as that company. Why am I saying that? Is because it's going to help you with the word like to, from. Every time when you make a payment to, you would know that it's a CPJ. You understand? And if there's an error on that transaction, then obviously it's going to come back to us. Then it will be from, which it would mean that it's a CRJ. Does it make sense? So I think the relationship between the business owner and the clients is crucially important at this stage. And the other thing is you just need to understand from and to. The easiest way to understand those two things is by identifying yourself as the business owner. Being an exam, being an assignment, being a class level homework, it will always be the same. I hope that would help you. Okay. Then I'm going to move on to transaction number 8. On the 30th of April, the bank statement showed a favorable balance of 2595. Okay, what do you think of this one?
Doesn't a favorable balance in the bank statement go to your bank recon?
Bank reconciliation, debit or credit?
It's your credit.
Credit side. Does everybody agree with Pumi? Does anybody agree with Pumi?
Yes, I do
Yes.
agree with me.
Well, let's move on to the last one. On the 31st of March 2018, the bank account in the general ledger showed a favorable balance of 1054. What's your take on this? It's an opening balance under your bank account, right? You see
Yeah,
the name of the
so
coding code, the balance brought down. This is what they're talking about. It will go through to your debit side as a balance brought down. But listen, you're going to total your cash receipts because now it has been adjusted, and then you're going to total your cash payment journal, and then the cash receipts will go under your T account for the bank account, and then this CPJ will go under the credit on the credit side of the bank account, and then the difference will just give you the opening balance for the next month. Okay, so in real terms, or in reality, it applies to everybody who is getting a salary from someone else, because in your bank is that we don't do our recons on our bank, on our personal bank accounts. We're not used to that. You can't blame us. We don't even benefit for that. Basically, we do. We just don't like to benefit from that. Okay. So all of these things that were actually here as part of your additional information with regards to your bank record, CPJ and CRJ, they appear to be exactly the same true in your true line. Okay. So I know I've got this friend of mine who hates checking his bank statement because he would always say, I don't have the freedom to withdraw the money at any ATM. You understand? So he's got the same mentality. Even when he buys the petrol, he'll be like, no, I just want 400 rand. I don't want to know how many liters are there, because it's going to stress him a lot. But it's important because it will help you to save in the future, to know how much are you spending. Is it necessary? Is it unnecessary? It will help you to save. It's important to get your one month bank statement with a little bit of your highlighter there. You highlight and get it. See if you can save around there. So the world is so tough. You have to be careful with that. All right. Is there any questions from your side? Okay, if you go to your study guides, there are many more questions that you can practice on. Do not practice them on a crammy note. Make sure that you practice them by an understanding. So your understanding, it will always require you to go back to your theory and read, and get it up until you got it right. Did you enjoy the question? Are people still here?
We here.
Oh, did you enjoy the question? Was it nice, challenging, interesting?
It was a good, challenging one. As I said earlier, it's different than what is on the study guide. So it was helpful.
Thank you for that. Right, let's have a look at our trade and other receivables. I'm just gonna catch up with quickly with the theory, and we'll do questions as time goes by. Right? I don't think we'll manage to get times to do questions, but let me just pull out my theory now. Share the notes. All right, trade and other receivables, as we all know that when goods are sold on credit, automatically if you buy on credit, you become a debtor. Okay, so meaning that's why I said that any credit sale transactions amount to the debtors in the entity's books, which lead to a specific period of debtor accepting the responsibility of adhering to the payment. It's called the credit terms. It's always determined in accordance with the company policy. Okay, if you can recall on our learning unit 2, we dealt a lot with our sales journals, purchases journals, purchases returns and the sales returns and the cash receipts and stuff like that. So here we're dealing with a complete list of all debtors combined under one T account, which is called the Trade and Other Receivables Control Account. So this is what happened. When you've got a sales journal, for example, the total amount of the sales journal is going to be converted to your Trade and Other Receivables Control Account in total, not on individual based on date. So basically, this is what happens in here. So you're going to take all list of your debtors, and then you're going to transfer them through to your Trade and Other Receivable Control Account combined, right? So then we've got what's called the allowance for the credit losses, which is simply created for debtors who fails to honor the account payment. Okay, so that's also in accordance with the company policies to say, okay, how about we create the allowance for the credit loss of those who cannot honor to make payment on their account. Okay, so I need everybody else to be very careful. Please be vigilant on this one, because you guys are going to be facing the multiple choice questions. There's so many questions that can be asked based on this part of the content. You need to be very careful and understand it. Things like your allowance for credit losses, allowance for your Yes, allowance for your credit losses, you trade in other receivables control account, trade in other receivables ledger based on the individual accounts. Make sure that you understand them and how you record them. Okay. Well, settlement discount granted, which we often offer to debtors in order to encourage quick settlements of the debts within the stated credit terms. Okay. So usually your creditors will always say, hey, Elizabeth, please do we don't want to pay your account within a certain whatever period, and then we'll give you a 10% discount or a 20% discount or whatever the discount it may be. It doesn't really happen when you buy goods on credit in most cases, but they do it simply to encourage quick settlements. It can happen with so many retail stores. We see that like your Clicks or your Woolworths or your Truworths and all of those. So it normally happens when the seasons are changing. If winter is changing towards summer, so the winter clothes, in order for the company to actually move them out of the shelf, they will just put them on a promo, which is called a special. So basically they give you what's called the discount. They would say 50% discount or 30% discount, simply because they want to change with the fashion trend. You understand? They can't be on the same type of a jean or same type of a jersey that they had the last year in winter in the future years for winter. So they have to develop with regards to the change on the fashions or the style or the seasons. Okay. Credit losses. Not everyone who is a debtor is eligible to pay the accounts agreed, and that appropriate the firms to create an allowance for the credit losses. Okay. These people, they know this, that most of us would just create an account for the sake of creating it, but most of the times we don't manage to pay them on time. Right, and if the credit won't be recovered by the firms within the stated credit terms agreement, companies will be required to write them off accordingly. Right, you remember that thing called the credit losses written off, or the bad debt written off? Thus, it falls under your bulletin too. Okay, if you've been a doubtful debt and you've been a credit loss, and you are now at a stage where they can call you the bad debt written off. You understand? So there are different stages or categories in terms of the payment cycles. Okay, up until you don't just show you don't care anymore and they write you off. Okay, so you will then later on, if you can't get a credit somewhere else, you'll be like, okay, I still owe this person and you go pay so that I can be clear. But effect would be that the credit losses will be debited while the trade receivables will be created with the loss. Okay, that's how you're going to be affecting that. Right, so it's important to know the movement with regards to your debit and credit. Well, the other one, credit loss allowance may be increased or it may be decreased based on the circumstances of the company policy. It's upon management to decide as to whether they want to increase the credit losses allowance or they want to decrease that. Right. So let's look at what's called the credit losses allowance. It's an allowance that is created by the firm to cover clients that they don't really pay on time. Okay. So it's more like it's a visualized money, not really like it's an actual money, but they just want to track on how are the debtors usually paying. Right. Writing off the bad debts is possible for a debtor if the debtors are failing to keep up with the installments in accordance with the company policies agreed. I think I've spoken about this one. Recovery of the credit loss must be recorded separately, but it is an income. That debt recovered, it will be going through to a statement of profit and loss as an income. So you need to be aware of that. Okay, that is usually recorded separately. But there might be a possible interest that might be charged to debt for those who have scored or like that one. And listen, there might be a possible interest that might be charged for debtors who have scored or that they lack the financial muscles. Okay. So, for example, let's say you are in agreement with Woolworths and you say by the end of August, I will pay so much, and then you are failing to pay. So they've got the right, if it's within the company agreement policy, to get charged with interest for late payment or for not paying at all. Right. Let's look at the VAT implications on credit losses and credit losses recovered. Here's the thing. Let me just go through my theory a bit. Initially, company registered for VAT, in tax, I know we call them VAT vendors, would be liable for VAT output when the credit sales takes place, and immediately when the debtor fails to pay some. Companies are allowed to claim their output paid over to SARS, and should recoveries be made, the companies must pay the output VAT over SARS. So this is the implication that is called the back and forth movement. When a supplier is selling goods, usually is going to be charged what's called an output VAT on the sale. Okay, so but here's the thing: the client is buying on credit, and the client is actually failing to pay on time or up until you write off the client. So you, as the seller, you've got the right to go to SARS and say, you guys have got proof that I've sold this and this and this to this. However, I need to claim my VAT output back because this person hasn't paid me. I regard this person as my debtor. Okay, but look at how it works. As soon as you get that amount of money back, and then I owe you, and I call you, hey Putty, I'm Putty, I've been owing you so much that I need to pay you back. Immediately when I pay you that amount of money, you still need to go back to SARS and say, hey, the guy has came back and paid me. Do you get what I'm saying? So here's your money back. So that's the VAT implication with regards to the credit losses and the credit losses recovered, right? On the other scale of things, you gain. On the other scale of things, you lose, and then you gain again, or you lose forever. That's how it works, depending on who is selling to who. Okay, my integrated examples is the ones that we're gonna see, I think, the next week. I formulated quite a few number of examples. You guys are gonna pass, don't worry. These are the questions that you might find in the exam. Okay. So, but we'll do these questions there next week. Any questions from any of you? I see Elizabeth, you're raising your hand. All right, I guess that's it from me, guys, unless if you do have additional questions. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.